Hi, welcome to Mindset Shifts to create momentum and minimize stress. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Aerobodies, Inc., Fran Bishop, and the creator of Workforce Wakeup. And in this Take Action webinar, we're going to help you accelerate motivation to really tip the scales against those negative impulses to procrastinate, to be distracted, and really fighting avoidance, and really help you develop that take action mindset. So let's get right to it. So what are we going to cover in this exciting webinar? Well, we're going to talk about driving your motivation. What are the tips and tools and assets you're going to really need to be able to do that in a much more meaningful way and a purposeful way? And then what does it mean to take meaningful and make meaningful commitments? Next, getting specific about minimizing distractions. So we all know we have distractions. We all know what they are. There are some underlying and there are some that are obvious. But how do we get specific so that we minimize, if not reduce them altogether? And then finally, reducing the pressure and noise that comes up for each and every one of us every day. So let's talk about driving your motivation. How do we actually do that? Is it done quickly? Is it done overnight? Or is it a long haul? Well, how do you eat an elephant? You know, if you've worked with a lifestyle coach or a business coach or an executive coach, even when I put my coaching hat on, when I've worked with thousands of clients over the years as a coach, one of the first things I say is one step or one bite at a time. So you are obviously here because there are some obviously distraction issues that are going on for you, procrastination going on for you. So you're not going to change overnight. But if we take incremental steps and make incremental moves and changes, you'll be able to conquer this major project or a major feat in your life and be able to move on to tackling some more important goals. So what's the purpose? Well, you want to think about your purpose in three different aspects. First of all, the perspective that you're going to take to work on these tasks. Next, you want to think about the impact that you want to make on the work or the task or the project that you have at hand. And then next, you want to think about the motivation that you have towards this purpose. So all of those three principles are so very important when it comes to driving your motivation. So here's where we want you to take a pause, and you're going to think about creating your own personal mission statement. We've given you a number of worksheets that hopefully you've already downloaded from the main core online file. So download those worksheets, and in one of them you will find your personal mission statement and defining your passions form. So we're going to give you about 60 seconds here, and I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts to think about as you're going through this. So what is it that you really want to see different for yourself this quarter, this month, this year in terms of a personal mission? What is it that you've been able to identify or as a sticking point or a challenge that you're really trying to overcome? And then what are some of the passions that may flow down from that? And you may think of it from these statements. I hope to. I really want to. I believe if I had the right tools, I could. All of those are passion statements. But in order to get to those passions, we have to help you really create some new commitments. So we're going to move on and talk about how do we do that. Making meaningful commitments. And that's really what the take action mindset is all about. In order to really drive yourself with momentum and drive forward in your purpose and really changing that mindset, you really have to think about how do I make incremental changes based upon my personal passions or what's important to me. And that's your meaningful commitments. So meaningful commitments can take lots of different forms in your life. Perhaps it's part of your vocation, your goal, whatever it is you're working on at work. Is there a piece of that? Maybe it's an employee group or mentoring or a particular position that you're looking for. There are meaningful commitments you can make around that. Perhaps it's volunteering for something in the community, like cleaning up a local park, helping a neighborhood youth organization, perhaps helping a neighborhood community organization. Or perhaps taking stock of something that's really within you as a personal passion. Whatever your natural motivation is, what are you naturally motivated to do? Those are all components of what we call meaningful commitments. And then consider areas where you may already be doing a little bit of that, but you know you need to do it with much more force and power. And that's how we're going to help you drive forward. So let's get into that a little bit further. The way in which we really move the ball down the field, as it were, is when we consciously and intentionally find ways to broaden our passions through everyday activities. So in other words, let's say you have a commitment, a meaningful commitment to do something, but there's everyday activities that we could couple with that you don't even realize you're not committing to or you're not even participating in. How do we marry the two? Let's show you how. You're going to use your personal and your professional accountability to do that. And there's personal and professional accountability all around you. Sometimes it's brokered and sometimes it's already at use for you in your home or in your personal life. You may not be tapping into it. Let's show you how. So maybe it's a coach. How many of you may already have a business coach or a lifestyle coach that you're working with? Or perhaps there's an accountability app that you're using. You know, it could be a mental health app, it could be a workout app, it could be some sort of virtual community that you're already involved in. I know some people serve on boards. I serve on a number of boards, and we actually have some shared accountability that is involved with those. Masterminds. I host masterminds, but I'm also involved in masterminds. That's a place that you can have accountability. Also, you want to think about what's your end game or your end goal. So work with the end in mind and work backwards from that. That also can serve as accountability. And then finally, just select something. So of all the things I've given you as an idea, just select one. And let's use that to move this momentum forward in terms of your meaningful commitments. Remember, you need to have accountability. Now, coupled with your meaningful commitment and your purpose towards that, you want to think about the reward. And the reward is something that you really, truly care about. If you don't care about it, you're not going to care to fulfill whatever the commitment is you're making to yourself, and you're not going to care to be accountable to that. So think about the reward that you want at the end of the day. What kind of rewards are we talking about? Well, perhaps you want to think about what resonates with the connections that you make. So your brain will begin to look for different things that it's connected with or you're connected with in your life based on the reward that you set for yourself. Perhaps you see yourself at the end of the day volunteering for a youth support group in the neighborhood, or even a social group in your organization, or even mentoring in the evenings or afternoons on the weekends. So whatever that reward is that you're really seeking, you want to marry and you want to feel really good about, you want to then start to marry the activities around that. And your brain is going to automatically start looking for connections because you're going to see them in everyday activities you never even thought about. And that's where you're going to start to feel more fulfilled and happier about your success. But guess what's hiding around the corner? Failure. And this is your brain's way of taking avoidance. Let's investigate what I mean by that. So our brain has innate negativity bias. And so it knows if something is painful for us, it's best if we avoid it. So oftentimes you'll see sometimes activity apps that give you that avoidance mechanism because bragging is not enough. So what do I mean by that? So you'll see activity apps that exist now that allow you to make money if you lose weight, right? Because bragging rights that I've lost, 50 pounds, or I'm able to run up the stairs, or whatever the case is not enough. But if you lose money, your brain wants to avoid that. So that's the pain avoidance. So you'll see that there's different apps that are connected to that. That is all encompassed in failure. Your brain is telling you, because it has an innate negative bias against failure, and it doesn't want to fail. So even though those types of mechanisms aren't fail-safe, they genuinely do provide some sort of incentive for you. So how do you use that in your favor? Well, you're going to track your progress and review the accomplishments on a regular basis. Because what you want to do is start to create momentum about where you want to be as opposed to failing against where you're not. And again, that's how your brain is going to start working with you to track and review those accomplishments on a regular basis. So how do we track the progress? Well, again, remember that analogy of eating one bite at a time? So you're going to break whatever big task. So we talked about, volunteering for a particular group, helping after school with the youth group, whatever it is you want to do, break it into small tasks so you can celebrate the small wins. Those are those happy neurochemicals that you're going to get as a result of it. So maybe it's just you get to celebrate that you made the list of recreation organizations in your community that you could possibly volunteer. Perhaps you make a list of the mentoring groups that you could perhaps reach out to in your organization where you want to mentor. Or perhaps you reach out to someone who is the head of one of these organizations. That's a small win. Whatever little tasks that you can put associated with this goal, this end reward goal, is what you want to do. And those little tasks will help you to continue rewarding yourself with good behavior and taking action against your reward. Action begets action. So before you know it, you've accomplished this task that you've begrudgingly thought about over the last couple of weeks that you didn't want to accomplish because you haven't been procrastinating against it. You've seen your action, you've seen your progress, and you continue to move against that. But we have another activity coming up. Minimizing distractions. So just because you're taking action and just because you have momentum doesn't mean distractions won't come up. So how do those interfere in the take action mindset, and how can you avoid them? Well, give yourself a to-do list makeover. And you may have heard of this before, that to-do list makeover. You've got to be specific, right? How specific is your current list? We all have lists, right? We all have task lists. I have them, everyone else has them. But how specific are they? And are they working to your benefit? What do I mean? Well, here's an example of a task list, right? Everything from doing the dishes to calling your mom to ordering your workforce wake-up supplies for your new engagement energizer that you're going to do in your office to signing up for that next employee engagement conference. But better to-do lists mean that you have more detail around it. So what I mean by that is you want to start to spell out what are the steps you need to take specifically that are aligned with that action or that to-do that you said you need to get done. Don't have any gaps in understanding because that's where your procrastination is going to come in. So be very specific in terms of taking those actions. I know what I mean is X. So why use and waste words? Be specific, write it down. What exactly is it that you need to do and what you need to accomplish? Because believe it or not, again, those are those neurotransmitters working. Our brains are inspired to complete the actions that we read. How does that work? Watch this. So I want you to read this list. Just read it with me. And as you do, imagine jumping, stretching, yawning, reaching, lifting. Did you see how that happened? So as you're saying those words, you're taking action. Now, think about your to-do list you just made. Now we want you to take action with your to-do list. Write down the 3 most important things that need your immediate attention. Need it today, maybe needed it yesterday. Put them in order, most important, second, and third. And then write an action word next to them to take action. Be specific. Remember, be specific. So that's so important. And as you do that, it will make more sense as you go through it in terms of taking your action. Now, how do we add to that? By reducing pressure and noise. How do we want to add to that? Because there's still more distractions going on. And that's where the pressure and the noise come in. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about blocking out background noise, right? So background noise impedes quick action. It impedes decision making when you've got constant distractions going on. What do those look like? Well, you see them all the time. And the interesting thing about it is that when you think about a sports team, you think about your favorite sport like basketball, football, golf, baseball, whatever. There's always noise going on in the stands, right? There's always noise going on the sidelines. But think about your favorite athlete. your favorite sports star. They're a star because they can zone in, right? Even though they have peripheral vision, they're using very focused and laser focus to block out all that background noise so that they can be absolutely in the zone. So what are some of the common distractions that you and I have? Well, it's the television being on, right? Often I'll say, if I'm working alone, but I'm not working on busy work, I'll have background noise on, either if it's music or the TV. Email comes in, text messages, right? I bought an iMac last year and it's constantly giving me notifications, so I learned how to turn those off or mute them. Clutter around the house. How many of us are working in the virtual environment now? You're working at your kitchen table, you're working in your office, and as you're working, you're seeing things that need to be done in the house. Those are distractions because you want to get up and deal with them, right? Or even the environmental noise, right? So there's stuff going on outside your home. Outside of our house, there was construction all summer long. So we had to learn how to deal with that and have calls at certain times of the day so that wasn't distracting to our meetings. There's pets, there's kids, there's all kinds of common distractions. But then there's also hobbies, like things you want to do that aren't maybe not necessarily in your face, but they're subliminal, right? Like maybe it's a stack of CDs in the corner that you want to play, a guitar, like shown here in this picture. Or maybe it's addictions. Like one of my addictions is the micro habit of surfing the net. Like I think of a news article or a news event that's going on, and I want to go immediately think about it or immediately search on it. Perhaps for you, it's something in your freezer, like ice cream or what you're going to have for dinner. You want to go and pull it out, and then you get distracted by wandering through the refrigerator. So whatever it is, we all have our common distractions. But how do we eliminate them? Because really that's what this is all about, right? How do we get focused, laser focused, so we can create momentum, shifting our mindset? Well, you got to take action. So perhaps you need to turn off the notifications, change your mobile phone settings, or turn it off while you're trying to work on this particular project. Get it out of reach. A lot of the sleep therapists and sleep experts talk about putting your phone outside your room at night so it doesn't distract you and it doesn't really interfere with your sleep. Same thing with your work. Is there somewhere else you can put the phone so you can stay focused? And staying on focus, staying on sequence. Sometimes it calls for a little creativity. So on my phone in particular, what I've learned to do is start to coordinate and put all the apps that aren't urgent and most important. Like for instance, I have my travel apps that I use for travel only, whether it's GoPro or I'll use like the apps that I use when I'm in the air for email, etc. Or perhaps it's like games like you're seeing here on the screen. Whatever those apps are, I put those on another screen. I don't put those on my main screen. The only thing that's on my main screen are apps I have to do to deal with work every day. Perhaps an accounting software, or if there's social media that I have to use for my work, or if perhaps it's phone or calculator. But really be strategic when you think about how you set up your life and how you set up those distractions that really, all they do is trigger your brain to be non-productive rather than productive. You also could lock away perhaps the social media or the devices if they're going to be distracting to you. Change your own location, perhaps in your house, in your office, in your building. Wear headphones. Sometimes I'll even put in earphones. So I put in earplugs to knock out or block out any sort of noise that's coming in. So that streaming that wants to come in constantly won't interfere with what I've got going on. Now, social media is important, right? So some of us can't completely disconnect from social media because some people use social media for their work. If you're in the marketing business or if you're in the advertising business or in the IT business, social media may be a part of what you do. If you're launching a new product and you're in product development, it could be that social media is a part of your core work. And social media, as we've all learned over the years, has been programmed to be very gaming mode oriented. So it's getting us all amped up and pulled in. But we have to be strategic too. We have to be very strategic with how we use social so it doesn't get in the way. So you've got to take action. Create a roadmap action list in terms of how you're going to use your social and when you're going to use your social. So again, at the end of the day, it doesn't become over distracting to you and get in the way of you making progress, changing your mindset, and creating momentum to drive action. So let's step back and let's think about what you've learned. We've talked for the last 20 minutes or so about what it means to really take action towards your motivation. And we've talked about a couple different skill sets that may be new skill sets for you. What did you learn? What are you going to change? What are you going to put in action today so that you can really change your mindset? Well, what's your personal mission statement? Did you write that down? Did you decide what that personal mission statement was? What does it look like? How can it help you? And how can it really enhance what you're trying to do again this week, this month, this quarter, this year? What is it you're going to be committed to? And then what are the meaningful commitments that you can make for yourself that keep you motivated along the way? We talked a lot about volunteering, mentoring, doing things in the community, but perhaps it's something personal. Perhaps improving your well-being, improving or losing weight, getting out and walking more often, doing some cross-training and learning a new exercise. Perhaps maybe you want to dance a little bit more, right? Like maybe you want to have a little bit more laity in your life. Whatever that meaningful commitment is to yourself, to motivate yourself, how can you start to make incremental inroads in that every day by those commitments that you're making towards yourself? What's the one distraction? Maybe don't think about this. Again, it's not the big elephant. Think in small steps. What's one distraction that you really struggle with on a daily basis? For me, I know it's notifications, right? So I have really learned to eliminate the notifications, put them on pause, change them up. I even work on a different computer sometimes so that those distractions and notifications that come in will not throw me off my zone, so I can really stay in the zone with what it is I'm doing at the time. So for you, what does that look like? And how are you going to do that so it really does change your mindset and change the way in which you approach your work? So looking forward, hopefully you've taken some good notes for yourself. Remember, take action on your mindset. It's not going to change overnight, but it can change, and you can make those changes. Again, start small, move forward, take a good assessment look at what's working and what's not, and then think, is there just one aha or one takeaway I can take from this lesson? How can I use that to make change, create a shift, and really gain momentum in my life? I'm Fran Bishop. It's been great to be your host. Please check us out on Workforce Wakeup or aerobodies.com, and anywhere on social you can find us. We look forward to having you again in another one of our series on the Workforce Wakeup series. And remember, in order to change your mindset, make small changes every day. It's been great to be with you. Bye-bye.